Now by George Galloway. First of all, you've beaten the Daily Telegraph. Who else are you going to sue for repeating the libel, given that other papers and indeed ministers criticised you?
Well, let me get this one over first. It's been quite a gruelling affair. I had to risk total ruin to bring this case. If I had lost it, I would have been homeless, jobless and penniless and bankrupt and out of public office for good as a bankrupt. So it's not a small undertaking, such a battle as this. But the victory has been, as your report has just said, very comprehensive. But I have now collected, although I've not yet got the cash, £250,000 in libel damages in 6 months, from the Times, the Sunday Times, the Christian Science Monitor.
So if you're in a role, you may as well go on.
Well, I may well, but I'll, if you don't mind, take my legal counsel on that rather than discuss it on Newsnight.
You are the only person that's actually claimed the documents were forgeries. Do you know who forged them? Have you an idea who forged them?
Well, I've claimed throughout that the documents in the Daily Telegraph case were fake. I'm not able to establish that they're forgeries. We are talking about a photocopy of a document illegibly signed, citing a report from an unnamed intelligence officer found miraculously in a burning building in Baghdad. Baghdad is under the control of the Daily Telegraph's friends, the puppet regime. I'm not able to go there. I'm not able properly to investigate it. But I do know that the other documents in the other cases were found to be forgeries, and I have no doubt that this document is a fake.
So why would anyone forge this exactly?
Well, you know, you can say why, but you know for a fact, because in the very same courtroom, Court 13 in the Strand at the High Court, one of the world's great newspapers, the Christian Science Monitor, was forced to pay me substantial damages and make an apology of the most grovelling kind for publishing on its front page in 93 countries the allegation that I had taken 10 million...
But who do you blame with this? Who do you blame, the ownership, or do you blame the editorial staff at the Telegraph?
Well, I think the provenance of the document is highly contentious. I will be seeking parliamentary opportunities to discuss that matter further in the next days and weeks. One day we'll know who produced this fake document. But a very good test on these occasions is to ask who benefits. Who benefited from the attempt to destroy one of the leading figures in the British anti-war movement? And when you ask that question, certain answers flash up in your mind, and I think the intelligent viewers of Newsnight can work that out for themselves.
So what are you going to do with the money?
Well, I haven't got it yet because the Telegraph have asked for leave to appeal against the judge's refusal to allow them leave to appeal. It'll be some time before that's all worked out. But there is a general election coming up. I will be standing in,
it's your coffer
in the Bethnal Green and Bow constituency, and it'll buy quite a few election leaflets.
You will see time and again that 1994 film, and so people are still unclear about your attitude towards the regime. Just can you nail this now? Is it better for Iraq that Saddam has gone?
Well, people shouldn't be unclear. Some of them are willfully unclear. This was made clear in the court case, with a volume, and I mean a volume, of denunciations from me going back to the 1970s.
So is it better for Iraq he's gone?
No, Iraq is definitely not better off today than it was before the war. Anyone who watches television knows that.
But is it better without Saddam?
All countries are better off without their dictators. But the price of getting rid of this dictator has been an ocean of blood.
Galloway is here. Very good morning to you.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. It's been 3 years of facing total ruin, bankruptcy. If I'd lost this case, I would have been homeless, jobless, without a bank account, and bankrupt and out of public life for good. So it was very high stakes. 3 years is a long battle, but I'm obviously very pleased now to have finally won it.
I mean, do you feel in a way that the Telegraph is almost trying to put that financial pressure on you?
Well, you know, one of the problems of trying to clear your name from that kind of assault by multi-billionaire owners of newspapers is that if they dig in and go all the way, then you have to risk absolutely everything in the libel courts. most people would have balked at that. I didn't feel that I was able to. I had to risk
There are
everything.
those that say that you put yourself up for that sort of thing then.
Well, you don't put yourself up for being lied about, and that's what libel is. It's somebody publishing lies about you. And I don't think anyone puts themselves up for that. No, the Saddam regime never gave me any money, but the newspapers that alleged that he did have had to give me plenty, and had to pay out plenty. Now, millions of pounds, because of course 150,000 to me, 1.6 million in costs, and there are several other newspapers in the same frame.
Can you draw a line under this now? I want to ask you about moving on, but Robin McKay in Scotland asks if the US Senate committee invites you back to answer more allegations, would you go, and why give them the time?
Well, I demanded that they have me back because I think I did quite well the last time, and I think it took our anti-war, anti-Bush campaign forward, and most, even critics, agreed with that. So that's probably the reason why they won't ask me back. But when Senator Coleman, the chairman of the committee, faces election next November, I'll be there in Minnesota, following him around,
so how do you
helping
move
his
on
opposition.
now?
Well, I'm fighting the local elections, which are now 80 days exactly away. We're fighting all over the country. We hope to make a breakthrough, perhaps particularly in East London.
But all the publicity over Big Brother, we have to talk about that.
Sure.
I mean, you were pretty largely pilloried by most sections of the community. You must have felt under pressure. You don't think that's fair?
That's completely untrue. I was pilloried by most sections of the media. The same media that have been libelling me for 20 years, but far from being pilloried by the community. There are more people attending my public meetings, more people buying my books, more people buying
Is that just the
tickets
element
for
of you
my
being
shows.
controversial?
Well,
You don't
partly,
regret
yeah.
that?
No, partly. You're right. I mean, just because you're famous doesn't mean people agree with your politics, but it's not a bad start when people come up and ask you if they can take their picture with you.
What about the question then that people will put, and have put, that why do you do what you do? Is it for you, George Galloway, or is it for the politics? Are they justified in asking that question?
You know, life would be very much easier if I just acted like other MPs and sat in the House of Commons bar and picked up my cheque at the end of the month and wasn't even a legend in the house next door. Never mind be asked into the Big Brother house. But I don't have unlimited time left to me in this life. No one does, of course. But I think that in the next 15, 20 years, I want to spend my time out there in the public fighting for my ideas, my policies. After all, your news bulletin's been dominated today by the very issues with which I'm most associated. Iraq, the Middle East, the Bush-Blair alliance and so on. These are the biggest issues of the day.
But isn't that the very point? I mean, those are the issues that you want to highlight, but because you're on Big Brother, that is what in fact dominates, not what you're trying to say. Do you feel that in a way you were done over in a way by the Big Brother experience?
Well,
did you realise it was going to come out like it was going to?
If you'll forgive the pun, I don't believe in crying over spilt milk. I'm making use of
Did you regret that?
Well, I was
doing that?
amazed. I was amazed at how that went down. I didn't think that would even make the cut, would even make the programme.
Is that right?
Honestly,
Really?
it shows you how naive I am. But, you know, I was dressed in a lab coat. I was asked to do something foolish for charity. We made more than £500,000 for charity, by the way. That's double what we made last year. And I was asked to behave like a cat.
Would you do it again?
Well, if the cause was right and the cause was going to benefit well enough, then I would. I see Rula Lenska's now signed up as a cat food face, so
So you've helped there. Well,
it's an ill wind that blows nobody any good.
I doubt it's the last we'll be hearing from you.